both Democrats and Republicans tend to use the Supreme Court the way it wasn't designed to be used at all. Democrats are a little worse with this, just by being more, saying that, okay, well, the law changes over time, it's progressive. So basically, we can reinterpret things the way they mean today, and blah blah blah, and so on. The Republican textualist originalist approach is a little bit more closer to, I think, the original intention, although not at all to the mainstream interpretation of the Supreme Court, which has been over years, pretty much, I think, more leaning more to the democratic interpretation, which is spirit of the law, right? Basically, interpreting stare decisis and incrementally developing and evolving. And people like Clarence Thomas are textualists, just like Scalia was, and Clarence Thomas was also person behind the New York gun decision, which basically says that you can't put conditions on something that's in the Constitution, which New York it was basically impossible to get a gun in New York. So now, yeah, you can conceal carry and do all kinds of things that are guaranteed by the Constitution. Again, the argument of, hey, just make it the law, amend the Constitution, clarify clarify the Second Amendment and just add it as another amendment or whatever, that stands. It's notoriously hard to amend the U.S. Constitution, so that argument is kind of a talking point for the Republicans. Even if the Republicans wanted to amend the Constitution, they wouldn't be able to, I think. So it's it's a nice thing to say, but at the end of the day, what you're stuck with is the Supreme Court, and that then tends to become political. I hate that. I don't like that at all. I think the judges shouldn't be doing that because honestly, they're not elected. They're appointed. They're there for life. They're the worst possible, people in terms of, the structures to be doing these things, right? I would much rather have Congress do it than, than these guys.
Yeah. I think like one of the big problems with the politics in the United States is that, it's been basically an open policy of Republicans, essentially, that they will stack all of the courts that they can with conservative judges, like
Sure.
all of them, basically,
Yeah.
up to and including the Supreme Court. And this is a huge issue for any kind of democracy, right? Because you're politicizing bodies that should be somewhat, I mean, or mostly outside of, outside of the, let's say, political climate, or I don't know how best to put it, but there needs to be like a separation between political parties and the actual institutions, right? Institutions are meant to be independent, right? So when you make
Well,
it
yeah.
your party's policy to stack the courts, I think that in itself should be illegal, right? It's a huge red flag, like because what can follow then is also reforms of the institution itself, and also changes in the legislature that are strictly politically motivated, right? Um,
Sure, but that's happening anyway. I mean,
it hasn't, yeah, it hasn't reached quite that level yet in the United States, but
well,
like for
changing the number of
example,
judges,
in
yeah.
in Hungary and in Poland, uh, one of the biggest issues the EU has had with these two countries is the fact that the ruling political parties basically are destroying the 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 legal system in both countries. Basically, they're
Yeah.
remaking it into something that will
Mm-hmm.
essentially make political decisions for them, right?
Yeah, sure.
So they're instrumentalizing it in as a tool of the party, right?
Mhm.
And that is absolutely undemocratic, and that's one of the biggest threats to any Western style democracy, right? This is a path down into actual totalitarianism, right? It opens all kinds of doors that you don't want to go through, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you have to look at what those judges have been doing. They've been kind of just rolling back activist decisions. Roe v. Wade is an activist decision. The gay marriage decision, whether you agree with it or not, is an activist decision on the federal level. So all these people are doing is basically doing conservative stuff, which is rolling back federal, when they're mind tyrannical decisions from the top that shouldn't be there in the first place. That should come from the Congress.